So welcome to the node.js Technical Steering Committee meeting for May 31st, 2021. If we're going to follow the standard agenda, but before we get started, does anybody have any announcements they'd like to share? Okay, then let's move on to CPC and board meeting updates. In terms of CPC updates, I don't know, Rich, if there's anything to share.
It was a working meeting for the CPC this week, and nothing is leaping to mind as something that needs sharing right now.
Yeah. So let's move on to the issues tagged for the agenda then. So the first one is Opportunity Grace Hopper Open Source Day 1372. I know there's been some discussion in there. And Raphael, I don't know if there's anything we should discuss on that one this week. Oh, I have to re-promote Raphael, sorry. Sorry about that, Raphael.
So it's a Grace Hopper, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have created a GIST with a private GIST that I will share with the TSC plus the volunteers. I didn't send any message yet, but I'm planning to do it in 1 week or so. I'm just focusing on other things right now.
Okay. Do we need this on the agenda for now?
No, I think we should include it to the agenda once we get the accept or feedback from the application.
Okay.
But that's all.
Okay, so I'll remove the TSC agenda label for now, and then you can add it back in when needed, right?
Yes.
Sounds good. Okay, the next one is apply tools behind a Node.js namespace number 1178. I know that there was discussion about that quite a while back, but more recently we got one of the namespaces Node.js core. I don't see any further discussion. I think it was Danielle. Sorry, go ahead.
We actually waited for you in the previous meeting to be here.
Okay, so last time you're suggesting, so I guess I can confirm that Node Core is under the Node Foundation account. We haven't asked for anything else like Node.js. I think, the question would be I think Danielle was going to push that forward. So maybe we should wait till Danielle's in the meeting, or we can maybe I'll just mention Danielle to say, well, that we have Node Core. What are the next steps? And it's the agenda. So I'm just commenting asking whether we still need it on the agenda, if there's anything to be answered or anything like that. Okay, unless anybody else has anything else on that one, we can move on to the next one. Okay, that's number 799, which is allow integration GitHub to Slack. If anybody who's here opened that one or has been involved, just jump in. I think, Rich, you added to the label.
I probably put a comment in explaining why, I hope.
Says I added the TC agenda label, but only so that it shows up on the agenda if it gets stalled. This gets resolved and closed before the next meeting, then great.
Yeah, does anybody have, I mean, this Ulysses opened this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so excuse me. I imagine this is for build stuff, but I don't know exactly what, but
Yeah, I I think it's probably been open for long enough. So if anyone wants to object, speak now. But it's mainly to put an integration in for some automated alerts. So we do have a channel in Slack for alerting the build team. So we've got some processes that automatically monitor some of the build infrastructure and send out alerts in Slack. And Ulysses has been putting together some more automation to warn on things like a low disk space and other things on the build on the machines connected to Jenkins aspect. And I sort of directed him to raise an issue on admin as awareness if we're going to add at the organization level the sort of the Slack integration between to sort of post the alerts back into the foundation Slack. So it's more for visibility and chance for anyone to object, but it's part of some automation to make build aware without having to sort of go look if any bits of the infrastructure are sort of creaking a bit.
It's also fairly limited in scope in that it's just the Node.js Jenkins alerts repo as well, right?
That's the intention.
Yeah. So that seems pretty low risk. I guess, would people be comfortable if I say was discussed in the TSC meeting today and there were no concerns?
Richard will approve or something like that. Because someone has to go in and click the approve button, I think, and Ulysses doesn't have permission to do that. Or I could go do it.
Okay.
I'm happy to volunteer too, but Richard, if you are willing to do it, go for it.
Okay.
Sorry to volunteer you, Richard.
Okay.
For clicking a button. I guess I could have done it myself.
Okay, so I'm just going to put that into the minutes and put it as a comment in the issue as well. Okay, so that's good. That takes us to the end of the issue. So let's flip over to the strategic initiatives now. Okay, so I'm just looking at who we have people from. So Antoine, anything to report or discuss?
You put it in the chat saying no updates.
Sorry, go ahead.
And Anton put it in the chat.
Oh, okay.
Today, so no updates.
Okay, great. No, thank you for that. Over to quick HTTP3.
Making progress. More PRs landed. Happy to actually see code landing. There's going to be a number of more PRs. They're going to start getting much smaller in size here as we go and focus on just making sure everything works and starting to get tests and that kind of thing. But yeah, definitely making progress.
Okay, that's great. And the smaller they are, the easier it's going to get to, I assume. So
Yeah. I mean, like the really big ones are already there. I still encourage folks to take the time to go through that code because it's very complicated overall, just because the protocol is complicated. I'm happy to answer questions, sit down with folks as they go through it. But yeah, it's good to finally see code going in.
Okay, so the next one I think that we have somebody from is Next 10. I think on that front, the two things that I'll report is like we're hoping to get the survey data into the Next 10 repo soon. Quite a bit of interesting stuff there. The main work was going through the write-in questions and sort of sanitizing But some really interesting information in there. There'll be things like people saying, yeah, we want HTTP3, right? So, you know, I think some good feedback in terms of the priorities we've already laid out, as well as things that are priorities for the community as a whole as well. The other thing is we discussed a while back the approach for getting project news out to a broader audience and sharing that more broadly. We have moved forward in reaching out to some of the publications like Node Weekly, JavaScript Weekly, and I think ES Next, to say, here's an issue where you can find links to issues across the project where there's news. And one of the people responded and said, hey, suggestion, like if you could convert that into an RSS feed, that would be great. But at least now they're aware of, I did post in that, I did do a Node.js collaborators that mentioning as well, because now is a good time to start like posting that news of, you know, here's something notable that's taken place, you know, project wise, that maybe somebody would want to report on and share. So anyway, I just wanted to let people know that, you know, that hopefully we have some people now looking. And so it's a good time to start adding those if you hadn't already been adding them. So that's the two things on the Next 10 front. I guess the third thing I should say is we are also planning a serverless deep dive like we did on the other sections. That's one of the areas that, you know, has been tagged as one of the priorities, but we haven't had a deep dive on. So we'll be reaching out to people and finding people we think would be interested in that. So if you know people who will be interested, please check out the issue for that that deep dive and you know, mention them or suggest that we do that. Single Xcode applications, Darshan, any updates?
Yes. So I opened a PR to cache the V8 bytecode of SEAs, and that improves the startup performance. And here's the PR. Yeah, that's it.
Can you just give us a little bit more? I'm interested in a little bit more context in terms of, so that says as an option, like instead of doing like bundling in the JavaScript code, you can now bundle in like pre-built like V8, not V8 bytecode, but like, or maybe it is V8 bytecode. Is that right?
It's actually not optional right now. So when we create the SEA blob, which gets injected using PostJect, the V8 bytecode is injected into the blob.
Okay, so basically it's updating the tooling so that when you use Node to create the blob that gets injected, instead of bundling in the JavaScript, it pre-builds it into bytecode and bundles that in.
Yes, correct.
Okay. So basically anybody who rebundles from now on gets a faster startup and okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I think that is the end of the people that we have somebody to talk to, the different initiatives. Okay, so that takes us, any other topics that people would like us to chat about before we close out? Okay, if everybody